So one of the things that I really got into quite a bit in the solo thing was pieces that don't require a lot of gear. I was doing some solo percussion touring back in the 80s a lot. And it was just me and my Dodge Dart, fitting everything into the van and going across the country playing music. And I said to myself at one point, you know, there's got to be an easier way. And at that point, my setup was like, you know, tuned bottles and pots and pans and a lot of homemade instruments. And I kind of had this startling realization that if I couldn't make everything happen just with a pair of sticks and a single instrument, then that was a limitation that I needed to address. So I came up with a series of solo percussion pieces for single instruments, which are on the research disc. And this is one of them. This is a bongo solo piece played with M23 mallets, these fiberglass and plastic mallets. And typically you don't play hand drums with mallets, but you'll see why I do in a minute. And I get to play them on these really cool Generation 2 LP bongos, which are really the Rolls Royce of bongos. So here is Crosshatching. It's dedicated, by the way, to the Greek and French composer Iannis Xenakis. Well,
So that was amazing.
thank you.
What were you listening to that inspired?
Oh, okay, yeah, so that piece, if you know Xenakis, Xenakis, he died a few years ago, a really interesting composer who wrote a lot of music for percussion, and he wrote a lot of music for bongos. So I thought it would be really kind of a warped take on his percussion music if I didn't write music based on his percussion music for percussion. I was actually influenced by his synthesizer and his electronic music. So I was checking out stuff he was doing with tape manipulation and stuff he was doing with, graphic. He had a board that you could actually write on, and the computer would assign values to the images on the board. So it could be like frequency could be from the bottom of the screen to the top. From left to right would be duration. So he had all these very interesting experiments that he was doing with electronics. And so really, I kind of approached that piece from thinking about electronic sounds. Not thinking so much about what would the drums do to keep the beat going. It wasn't really that kind of piece. It's more of like a sound piece. And then organizing the piece so that the sections and the textures kind of become like an orchestra having a discussion. So maybe like more of an ensemble. I think that was my goal with both solo pieces, is that you kind of have more than one thing going on at a time and giving it more of a musical outlook rather than thinking of it as a drum solo.